My wife freaked out when I showed up instead of the guy she was cheating with, like I'd just torn the curtain back on her secret life. That morning, my buddy Drew rolled up to take me on a 4-day hunting trip. I gave Tessa a quick goodbye and walked outside while Drew loaded up his truck with all his gear. He was serious about prepping right. He pulled back the cover on the truck bed and slid open a drawer behind the cab. "Put your rifle in here," he said, pointing to a metal box. I slipped my rifle in with the rest of the equipment, then climbed into the cab. I looked back at the house one last time. The front door was shut. Drew drove us up to this old family cabin that his uncle Gus used to run. Gus is not mobile anymore, so Drew's taken it over. "I've made a lot of upgrades," Drew said. "Better insulation, more efficient wood stove. We won't have to live in our parkas this year." He even installed a satellite dish, so we'd have internet and TV. "There's no solid cell reception," he added, "but you can hit up Tessa on WhatsApp if you really need to. Not like she's expecting you to check in." "Good," I told him. "I like being off the grid. I'm not even gonna mention the internet." That night we ate dinner in front of the TV, catching up on SportsCenter. Later, I cracked open a Michael Conran novel while Drew pulled out his laptop. We were halfway through our second beers. We weren't up there just to mess around and drink. We actually wanted to hunt, to test ourselves and maybe bring home some venison. That's when Drew suddenly blurted, "Oh crap!" I looked up from my book. He was staring at his screen, scrolling fast. "Holy double crap!" he muttered, then glanced at me with this strange, uneasy look. I folded my page and asked, "What is it, man? Something in the news? Did something happen to Maeve?" His voice dropped. "Oh man. You need to see this." He turned the laptop around. I stood, walked over, and sat beside him, expecting some breaking news headline. But it wasn't a news site. It was a social profile. A picture of Tessa popped up, grinning. That smile of hers always had a weird, fake edge to it. I shot Drew a confused look. "What the hell am I looking at?" He looked like he didn't know what to say. "Sorry, Eli. It's a dating site." "A dating site?" I said, not quite processing. "Are you serious?" After things ended with Nina, I'd been in a bad place for months. Did nothing. Eventually, I dipped my toes into dating apps like Tinder, trying to meet new people. I just stared at the screen. Some of those apps don't even pretend to be about dating, they're all about the hookups. Drew gave a half smile. "Yeah, I got lucky now and then. But there are wives on there too." "Wives?" I asked, like it couldn't be real. "Yup. Wives, husbands, all kinds of married folks looking for a little fun on the side." I turned back to the screen, and boom, another photo of Tessa loaded. My stomach twisted up. "Eli, look," Drew said quickly. "There's a lot of fake profiles out there. Sometimes people steal photos and names, use them without the person even knowing. Maybe Maeve's just a victim," he added. "I've never seen her on here before." God, I wanted that to be true. But as I looked closer, I knew. The photos were definitely hers. They weren't old either. One of them hit me like a punch. The outfit she was wearing? I gave it to her for Christmas last year. That picture couldn't be more than a year old, and I sure as hell didn't take it. Then I saw the caption. "Can you help me with my daddy issues? And I don't mean a sugar daddy." Jesus. It kept going. "I think my dad's always wanted to, you know. But he hasn't done it yet. I wonder what it'd be like. I picture him, middle-aged, but still hot. Sometimes I imagine him young, or even retired. Daddy's girl is ready to play. If you're clean and fit the description, send a pic." I just froze. "I'm alone for the long weekend," the profile said, "and looking for some special daddy-daughter time." There was even a little banner below the profile. "Status closing soon." I looked over at Drew. "Daddy issues? What the hell?" Drew tried to make it better. "Hey, maybe this isn't as bad as it looks. Some wives aren't miserable in their marriages, they just have weird fantasies they're scared to share." He shrugged. Could just be about curiosity. Roleplay stuff. Daddy-daughter fantasies, you know? I kept reading, my throat tightening. Drew shook his head. Yeah, this is double crap. Big time. The next part of her profile described her. Dad, classic Mediterranean features. Greek and Italian heritage. Dark curly hair, deep-set eyes, a Roman nose. If that's you, it said, I'd love a date. If you're 6'5" and lean, even better. I stared at the screen. What? Drew blinked. Wait, you didn't know? Not a clue, man. Not a damn clue. Thing is, Maeve's dad, Sean, is Irish through and through. Pale as chalk. Rusty red hair. The guy she was describing? That was me. Then I saw something that sealed it, the triple crap moment. Right below her profile was a link. Join the chat room. I scrolled down and saw a message that made my skin crawl. Some guy had written, Hey, I've had a lot of free time lately. Can I come over? Tessa had replied, Absolutely. I've got space. Just tell me when. Did you have fun last time? I just sat there stunned. She's been doing this for a while. I muttered. I looked at Drew. Can you tell how long she's been on here? Maybe it's not about sex, maybe it's for money. Part of me expected her to pop up on a live webcam. Drew clicked around. No sign of that. It's just a regular dating site. He kept checking. Doesn't look like she's selling anything. More like she's just doing this because she wants to. Hell, I muttered. And she's lining up a full weekend of it while I'm up here in the woods. Drew raised his eyebrows. Eli, it's a pop-up speed dating site. Nothing serious. Not a relationship thing. Then make a date with her, I said. What? Swipe right or whatever. Find out if she's available this weekend. I want to know if she's actually having fun while I'm sitting here stewing. He hesitated. I could try, but I don't match the look she's asking for. She wants a picture. That's when it hit me. Yeah, she wants a picture. Of me. I told Drew my plan, used my photo, set her up. He nodded slowly. Honestly, not a bad idea. Too late to stop her, I said. But maybe I can crash her party. I'll just jump in the chat and tell her I'm coming home with a rifle. Drew shook his head. Best not to warn her. She said she's free Friday and Sunday, he added. So she's definitely planning something. We'd taken Friday and Monday off to stretch the trip, which meant I wasn't expected home until late Monday. If you message her now, Drew said, his voice edged with anger, you're just giving her time to come up with a cover story. I remembered then, his ex-wife, Nina, had run off with her boss. That pain in his voice wasn't just for me. If we leave now, you'll catch her in the act. No excuses. No lies. Just truth, ugly and raw. He smirked as he scrolled through Maeve's profile, and for a second it didn't even feel real. It was a little over a 3-hour drive back home, and we talked through every scenario, how to time it right, how to maybe catch her mid-date, maybe even face-to-face with her so-called daddy. But the heaviest part of the conversation was about what came next, the inevitable divorce. Drew had been through the legal hell already, and even though it left scars, his insight was going to help me keep my head straight. 2 hours later, we were still turning over the same plans for the third time, driving mostly in silence. We turned onto my street around 10:45 p.m. Drew eased up as we approached the house, but I told him, keep driving. He shot me a look, but pressed on. Turn the corner and stop, I said. He nodded, took the turn, and rolled to a stop. Then I saw it, a car parked across from the house. Definitely not one I recognized. No one parks on this street at night, I muttered. She's already started, and she's doing it in our home. I reached for the door. Thanks, man. You can go. Hell no, Drew said firmly. We came up with a plan. Either we check it out together or we back off and deal with it tomorrow. I can't wait, I said. I need to know. Tonight. Come on, Eli. He tried one more time. What if she's alone? You'll just feel worse. And there won't be any proof. I don't care, I told him. I have to see it. He sighed. All right, plan B. He turned down the alley behind my house, voice steady but low. No, Elliot, what we see, alone or not, we take a look, then we go back to my place. Don't do anything stupid. His eyes drifted toward the truck bed where my rifle was locked up, and I knew exactly what he meant without him saying it. Drew parked, and we moved through the shadows, careful with every step. I reached the gate and lifted the latch, praying Tessa had forgotten to lock it after taking out the trash. She had. We slipped inside. Our bedroom was tucked in the back corner of the house. Behind the curtains, I spotted a faint glow, soft light seeping through the fabric. We crept forward, dodging the crunch of fallen leaves. I crouched near the big window, tried to peer in, but the curtain blocked everything. Drew shook his head, mouthing, "Can't see." I edged closer slowly, until I found a sliver where the curtain didn't quite meet. Through the gap I saw her. Maeve. Sitting on the bed. With some older guy. My heart felt like it just snapped. I almost punched through the glass right then, until I remembered my Leatherman was on me. I reached for it, but Drew's hand grabbed mine, firm. He signaled for silence, and gently pulled me back. I resisted at first, teeth clenched, but eventually I gave in. Drew raised his hands in frustration, turned, and walked toward the gate. I followed, still numb. We made it back to his truck without a word. I glanced at the locked compartment under the seat, knowing full well what was inside. Rifles, a magnum, bear spray. All of it out of reach. Probably for the best. We've been here too long, Drew said, not even looking at me as he fired up the engine and pulled out of the alley. A few minutes later, we parked in the lot of a closed grocery store a few blocks away. Only a few employee cars dotted the lot. I leaned back and muttered, "Why shouldn't I just go back and beat the crap out of him?" Drew didn't hesitate. "Because you'll go to jail. And it's not his fault. Tessa invited him. He probably doesn't even know she's married." I clenched my fists, jaw tight. "If you want out of this marriage without wrecking your life, you've got to stay cool," he said. "Slow and smart. Cold and cautious," I repeated like a mantra. Back at Drew's apartment, he didn't take any chances. He locked away every weapon and the bear spray in his cabinet and made it clear I wasn't touching any of it while I was still spinning. We sat at his kitchen counter. He poured out 2 tequila shots and raised his glass wordlessly. We toasted to a world that didn't make sense. Then we chased it with cold Pacificos. "She's cheating on you, with you," Drew finally said, shaking his head like he was trying to make sense of it. "Maybe she's trying to reconnect with who you were when you first met. Maybe she still loves you, just wants a different version of you." "I wasn't 55 when we met," I said bitterly. "And it's not like things have gone cold in bed. She doesn't need a fantasy, she had the real deal." Drew shrugged. "Maybe the daddy thing is her way of framing it in her head." I gave him a hard look, made it clear I wasn't buying any of it. Then he floated a wild suggestion, opening up the relationship so at least I could control the situation. I stared at him like he'd lost his damn mind. "Pour another," was all I said. We ended up sleeping in, missing the early hours of Friday morning, but we stuck to the new plan. Drew drove me to a car rental place, and I picked up a plain, forgettable sedan. From there, I went to a bank Tessa and I had never used. I opened a checking account using the trip funds we hadn't touched yet. I transferred half of our savings, plus about 20% from our checking. Just enough to get my footing. The banker, Rick, reminded me to leave enough in the joint account to cover the mortgage, car payments, and credit cards. He didn't want my credit taking a hit. Smart guy. He even helped me install the bank's app on my phone. Next stop, T-Mobile. I bought a dual-SIM phone with a solid camera. I kept our shared account intact. No alerts from Maeve. Drew pushed me to use the rest of the weekend to plan and prepare, even though every part of me wanted to storm back home and end it now. "Sir, is everything all right?" the store employee asked. I blinked, realizing I'd zoned out. I was still sitting at the display table, thinking about everything and nothing. Yeah, sorry, I muttered. Banged my knee yesterday. Still hurts. She didn't really buy it, but she nodded politely. Hope it feels better soon, she said, continuing her demo. I left limping, more from stress than pain, and met Drew at Starbucks. We sat down with coffees and talked through phase 2 of the plan. After that, we headed back toward my neighborhood. Drew left his truck in the same grocery store lot we'd used the night before. It was more crowded now, so it didn't stand out. We hopped in my rental and drove to the house. My car was tucked away in the garage, but Maeve's car, and the red Hyundai Accent from the night before, were gone. We crept into the alley again, and I hopped out, slipping through the back gate. She still hadn't locked it. I almost smiled. I used to remind her to lock it. Now I was grateful she forgot. Going in through the front would raise flags with the neighbors, so I stuck to the plan. Drew stayed back in the parking lot keeping watch. We usually came home via Tompkins Parkway and 3rd Street, so he'd be able to see if anyone approached the house. Tessa was supposed to be at work, but I still moved with caution. Can't be too careful. I unlocked the back door and slipped into the utility room. Then I grabbed the pole we kept for attic access and lowered the ladder. As I poked my head up through the hatch, my walkie-talkie beeped twice. Drew's signal. He was in position. He'd beep every 10 minutes, our countdown in motion. I gave the walkie-talkie a quick tap on the transmit button to let Drew know I was still with him. Calling it an attic was generous. It was more like a cramped crawl space under the eaves. I had to stay hunched just to move. Thankfully, the bags I needed were close by, just a few feet from the hatch. I grabbed an old canvas gear bag and a beat-up backpack that passed for a briefcase. I left my usual go-to bags downstairs. Didn't want to leave any clues I'd been there. After sealing the hatch, I wiped it down, no fingerprints, no smudges. Next stop was the alcove off the living room where we had our little home office set up. I unlocked the small safe and pulled out the important stuff: passport, social security card, my will, birth certificate, and the marriage license. Everything went into the briefcase. There was also $2,000 in cash. I took half. The safe also had some gold coins worth around $5,000, but I left those. Just took the receipt for them, in case I needed to prove ownership later. Didn't want her to know anything was missing, yet. Drew's double beep came through. 10 minutes inside. I moved fast into the bedroom and carefully picked out just enough clothing to avoid suspicion. Black slacks, 2 dress shirts, a couple ties, socks, and my black loafers. Then came the trickier part, setting up surveillance. Back at Starbucks, Drew and I had played around with the new phone's time-lapse feature. We didn't need audio. Just the visuals would be enough. I wedged the phone into a gap on the cabinet between my stack of ball caps, making sure the camera captured most of the bed. Maybe 80%. Not perfect, but it'd do. I even adjusted the curtains to get a better view through the gap, despite Drew warning me not to mess with anything. 10 more minutes gone. His signal buzzed just as I was finishing up. I moved into the living room and pulled out a trail camera we'd borrowed from the cabin. Mounted it high on a tall bookshelf, angled to watch the sitting area. Motion sensor was on, battery charged, SD card empty and ready to go for the long weekend. The phone in the bedroom would upload shots to my cloud account every 6 hours. I got out with 2 minutes to spare and caught Drew's final signal just as I reached the alley. I joined him back in the grocery store lot, keeping an eye on the corner of Tompkins Parkway and 3rd Street. We hit the KFC drive-thru and took everything back to his kitchen table, which now looked more like a war room than a dining space: fast food wrappers, paperwork, notebooks. We both had running to-do lists that looked like we were planning a corporate raid. I didn't really have an appetite, but I picked at a few tenders and some fries. I was more interested in the hit of Jack Daniels Drew had poured into my Coke. "All right," Drew said, breaking the silence. "Time to text her." "Why?" I asked. "To keep things normal." She's counting on the mountain signal being garbage so she doesn't have to talk to you. So send her the usual check-in. I stared at my screen, fingers frozen. What should I say? Here, Drew said, taking the phone. We'll copy one of your old ones. He scrolled through our message history. Here we go, the classic. He read as he typed, Hey babe, we got here fine. Weather looks good. We're heading out early tomorrow. I'll text again when I can. Zoxo Eli. He hit send. Then, without missing a beat, he started dialing again. Next call, the lawyer. Drew had already told me about Jordan Hale. She'd helped him when his marriage went sideways. Said she was sharp and tough, exactly what I needed. When she answered, her voice was calm and professional. Hello, Eli? Yeah, that's me, I said. Call me Eli. Drew didn't give you my last name? He did, eventually. Karis, right? Okay, Eli. I understand this situation kind of blew up on you. Yeah, I muttered. Pretty damn ugly, if you'll excuse the language. She chuckled. Hey, if you can't vent to your lawyer, who can you vent to? I let out a breath. I didn't realize how tense I'd been. So, are you my lawyer now? Do I actually need one? Well, let's look at it this way, she said. You're dealing with infidelity, right? Are you hoping to work through it, maybe try counseling? Hell no, I snapped. All right, good to know. Some people try the court's online system for no-fault divorces. But if you want the infidelity to factor into things like alimony or property division, you'll need representation. Can you take my case? I asked. Drew said you really helped him. He also tell you how much I cost? He did. Well, she said, rates have gone up since then, but I'll honor what I charged him. Sound fair? Yeah. When can we meet? I've got a spot open Monday morning. I covered the receiver and whispered to Drew. She wants to start right away. She's interested. He just grinned and gave me a thumbs up. Miss Hale, that works for me. Should I bring proof? You already have some? We caught her red-handed last night, photos of her dating profile, and we saw her with some guy. I also set up a camera in our bedroom to catch anything else over the weekend. She posted publicly looking for partners. Yeah, and get this. She was searching for guys who look like me. There was a pause. Then she asked, just to clarify, haven't you gained a lot of weight since the wedding? Nope. I'm 6 feet even. Weighed 180 when we got married, now I'm around 185. I lift and run pretty regularly. Good to know, she said. We'll talk more on Monday. Sounds good. Once we hang up, I'll email you a link to a secure evidence upload portal. Drew knows how to access it. Send me everything you've got and I'll review it before our meeting at 11 a.m. 11 on Monday, got it. Oh, and Eli? Yeah? Stay away from your wife until we talk. Don't go back home. I only practice family law, not criminal. Understood, I said after a long pause. That's fair. After the call, I used the login Jordan sent and uploaded the screenshots of Maeve's profile, plus the footage we'd captured. Then Drew checked my phone. My wife had replied. Miss you, but hope you're having fun. Happy hunting. Love you, Maeve. Drew typed out a quick message on my phone to Maeve, saying we hadn't bagged any deer yet and were about to crash for the night. Then, he dropped the phone into his safe. This'll act like a Faraday cage, he said, closing the door. I'll hit send, but the signal will be blocked. Then I'll kill the power. When you turn it back on later, he explained, it'll look like the message got delayed due to bad reception. You read way too many spy thrillers. I told him, but I appreciated it more than I could say. After that, Drew opened up about what he'd gone through. His divorce had been brutal. He still had to pay the mortgage and spousal support even while his ex was shacked up with another guy. The system didn't care. I prayed Maeve's infidelity would help me avoid ending up in the same situation. We applied every ounce of Drew's hard-earned wisdom. I closed out my investment accounts and updated passwords on all of Maeve's logins. Every account had new contact info, my new number, my new email. I shut down most of our joint credit cards, except the one our daughter Lila used for daily expenses. I kept that one but lowered the credit limit, just in case. As we hit the 6-hour mark, I pulled up the first batch of surveillance photos from my cloud account. The moment they loaded, I nearly tossed my KFC onto the table. I'd programmed the bedroom phone to snap 6 photos every 30 seconds, every 15 minutes. The first batch showed an empty bed, made up with different pillowcases. Already, she changed the bedding. Out of all the photo sets, 6 were blank. But five showed her with 2 other men. I felt my insides twist. I need to get out of here, I whispered, swallowing hard. Drew looked over and nodded. Yeah. Let's get some air. I'll buy you a drink. No, I said. I need to be alone. He looked uneasy. Eli, I don't think that's a good call. Damn it, Drew. I snapped. I need to puke. I need to cry. I need to scream where no one can hear me. I can't do that with you sitting across the table. I get it, he said gently. But if you go out and get drunk or do something reckless, this all goes sideways. I'm not going to a bar, and I'm not going home. Then get on the highway, he said. Drive. Clear your head. He didn't like it, but he finally gave in. Before I left, he sent every photo, every sleazy shot of Tessa with her daddies, to Jordan Hale. Turn your phone back on before you go, he reminded me. That text to Tessa needs to go through. And I'll need to check in. I nodded. Thanks, man. I promised I'd stay away from alcohol, got in the car, and drove north for 30 minutes, then looped back once the sun had fully disappeared. The supermarket was still open. I parked in the far end of the lot and walked quietly toward my house, ducking into the alley out back. The gate was locked this time. I climbed the fence. I crossed the backyard, careful not to make noise, and peered through the curtain gap I'd said earlier. Tessa was in bed. With someone else. Again. I moved toward the back door, ready to confront whatever was waiting. That's when my phone buzzed. A text. Then a call from Drew. I ignored both and kept moving. Then, from the shadows, a voice cut through the night. I see you, dumbass. I spun around. Drew was standing in the bed of his truck, arms crossed. Get over here, or I swear to God I'll start honking, he warned. I cursed under my breath, slipped through the yard as quietly as I could, and climbed the fence again. What the hell? I hissed once I reached him. She's in there with some toy soldier. I'm about to go teach that soldier some damn manners, Drew growled. If you don't leave, I'm calling the cops, I warned him. I climbed into the truck bed beside him. He didn't say a word as we pulled away. A few minutes later, we parked at a bar on Tompkins Parkway, just a couple blocks from the store. We grabbed a booth in the back. Drew shoved a shot of Rick Beam and a long neck bud in front of me. Drink this before you talk, he said. I took them both down, then finally spoke. I've had enough. She's turned my home into a damn brothel. I'll never sleep there again, but I'll be damned if I let her keep getting away with this. Then let's shut it down, Drew said. I blinked. What? Give me your phone. He took it, scrolled to my contacts, and tapped Maeve's name. He put it on speaker. After 5 rings, she answered, slightly breathless. Eli? Why are you? I mean, what a nice surprise. You must really miss me, she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Hi, Maeve, Drew said flatly. It's Drew. She went quiet. Drew? Why are you calling? Is Eli okay? He had a bit of an accident. Nothing major, but I might bring him down the mountain tonight. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Oh my God! What happened? Can I talk to him? Calm down. He slipped, hit his head on a tree branch. He's resting now with an ice pack. If he acts weird, I'll take him to the hospital. Should I come get him? No, Drew said smoothly. Then he swiped his thumb across the mic and dropped the phone under the table. Reception cut out. Drew? I didn't catch that last part. Maeve's voice came, tinny and confused. He rubbed the mic again. 1 bar now. Maybe more later. Then he ended the call. There, Drew said. We've disrupted the game. I laughed for the first time in 24 hours. We left the bar and walked slowly toward my house. I couldn't stop thinking about whether our little trick worked. Drew was sure it had. If she thought I'd been hurt, she'd toss her little playmate and cancel whatever else she had planned. As we neared the neighborhood, Drew pointed to a guy walking ahead of us in a military uniform. That's probably him, he said quietly. We slowed down. Drew subtly stepped in front of me. Evening, he called out. The guy grunted, barely acknowledging us. Drew stopped, turned, and made the soldier stop too. He looks like you did, back in your 20s, Drew whispered. The guy looked between us, eyes narrowing as realization dawned. Young daddy, Drew said, gesturing at him. Meet the real husband. I stepped forward. You like married women? I growled. Drew threw an arm in front of me. Down, boy, he said, but loud enough for the soldier to hear. Drew kept going. Didn't you see any pictures that looked like her husband? Like an older brother, maybe? Now I saw it, that fire in Drew's eyes. The calm was gone. His own pain was bubbling up. She said she was divorced? The soldier stammered. Not yet, I said. But soon. Oh crap. The guy muttered, and then he bolted. I could have chased him. I would have caught him. But Drew stepped in my way. No, man. Don't. For the second time in 2 days, I felt the urge to push him aside. But then I saw the look on his face, the sadness, the anger, the loss. I lost Nina to a cheater, he said. I'm not losing you too. I stood there, shaking, but I didn't run after the soldier. I just stood there. You've already lost the main battle, kid, Drew said, calm but firm. If you go after that guy, maybe you win a round, but you lose the war. And jail time? That'll make you look like a chump, not a man. I let out a long breath and slumped into the seat. Maybe I'll rough him up in 6 months, I muttered. Drew cracked a grin. Sure. After we build you a solid alibi. We were sitting in my rental car, parked back at the grocery store lot. Tessa had booted the soldier out, and Drew was convinced we'd shut down her weekend adventures. He was sick of me obsessing, but he agreed to give me another hour of recon. We spent half of it sipping beers at the bar, not talking much. Then we returned to the car and waited. A few minutes later, a Nissan Sentra with out-of-state plates rolled into the lot. A guy stepped out, looked up at the street signs under the lamplight, and started walking. He looked like me, not exactly, but enough that you'd believe we were cousins. He headed up 3rd Street, while I took off down 2nd, planning to loop around and watch from a distance. Drew, ever the buffer, followed him to keep me from doing anything stupid. I waited at the corner of Maple and 3rd, keeping low behind a tree. The guy walked slowly, stopped in front of our house, and double-checked the number. He rang the doorbell. I couldn't see Maeve, but I could hear her voice soft, low. After a few seconds, the door closed. The guy stood there confused, then knocked again, louder this time. Tessa opened it just a crack, keeping the security chain latched. I'm sorry, she said. It's not happening. Please leave, or I'll call the police. And just like that, she shut the door. I heard the deadbolt click. The guy stood there for a moment, stunned. Realizing he'd made the trip for nothing, he threw his hands up. What the hell? Hey, cow! His rant was cut short when the porch light next door flicked on. The door creaked open, and just like that, he turned and hustled back to the sidewalk. Good old Harvey Trent, retired, nosy, and sharp-eyed, had just unknowingly saved me from being seen. I waited until the coast was clear, then jogged quietly down 3rd Street. I was tempted to knock on my own front door, but I didn't. Drew was waiting at the corner of Elm, and we walked back to the supermarket lot together. As we reached the car, tires screeched somewhere behind us. Somebody peeled out of the neighborhood, angry and humiliated. Anger and driving don't mix, Drew said, shaking his head. Very dangerous, I echoed. Saturday morning hit hard after a restless night in Drew's guest room. I reviewed the surveillance footage over coffee. Tessa hadn't slept much either. She tossed and turned, got up a few times. No new visitors though. I started organizing the photos, clear, undeniable evidence, to send to Kelly, my attorney. I turned to Drew. Should I include the video I shot through the window? Hell no, he said flat. What you got from the camera is enough. No need to admit you were sneaking around. Let's keep this clean. Think that toy soldier's freaking out? Drew smirked. Probably. And I hope he calms down before he runs into a husband who leaves his weapons unlocked. Thanks for that mental image, I grumbled. Way to ruin breakfast. Let's make it better. Time to wake up Jordan with something fun. I turned on my phone. A dozen missed calls and messages from Tessa flooded the screen. I called her first. Hey babe, it's Eli. Sorry Drew scared you. I'm okay now. Still planning to stay out till Monday night. Love you. I hung up just as my phone rang again. Kelly. Hey Kelly. I answered. Didn't expect to hear from you this early on a Saturday. Morning, Eli. I saw your latest upload on the secure site. Nicely done. I glanced at Drew. Should I tell her? He nodded. Kelly, I'm putting you on speaker. Drew can explain why Maeve's Friday night ended earlier than planned. Morning, Kelly. Drew chimed in. Well, good morning, Drew. What have you two been up to? Did I corrupt you with all my rants about Nina? Drew walked her through the prank, the staged injury, the text, the fake phone call. Left out the backyard surveillance and our near run-in with the soldier. Jordan laughed. I like it. Clever. Think she cancelled the other dates? I do, I said. She just texted me, screw the deer, come home. I need you. I love you. Please come home now. Told you, Drew said with a shrug. Told him what? Jordan asked. That deep down, she still loves him, Drew replied. Kelly, I cut in. Do you ever deal with, I don't know, nymphomaniacs? Like actual mental health stuff? She paused. I've had clients and spouses with diagnosed conditions. It's not unheard of. So what, I'm supposed to forgive her if she says it wasn't her fault? That she couldn't help herself? Eli, you've seen the pictures. I've seen them. You're not just going to forget what you saw every time you look at her. And no judge is going to deny you a divorce over this. If she has a mental health diagnosis, it could impact some details. But this is still your call. That's when it hit me. I couldn't live like this anymore. Kelly, how fast can you file the paperwork? I want out. I'm done. I understand, she said gently. I'll have options for you Monday. We'll probably have to meet with her and her lawyer before finalizing anything. What do I tell Tessa when I don't come home Monday? You won't tell her anything, Jordan said. That's my job. I exhaled, long and hard. So what do I do until then? You've done enough. Anything else might hurt your case. Just sit tight, stay calm, and don't lose your head. Drew chuckled. I'm doing my best to keep him from that. But he's persistent. Then Jordan said something that made both of us pause. By the way, Eli, didn't you say you're still good for Kay? Drew and I locked eyes. Yeah, I said slowly. I think I said something like that. Good. Run along then. Bye, boys. She hung up. Tessa called again. I turned off my phone. Following Kelly's advice, I went out to buy new running gear. Hadn't packed any for the hunting trip. Drew came along, and we hit the trails afterward. We only made it about 3 miles before Drew had to tap out, but it helped burn off some of the nerves. Still, I couldn't sit still. I needed more. Drew suggested a better way to blow off steam. We grabbed our rifles, tossed them in the truck, and headed an hour out to a shooting range. I put way more rounds downrange than he did. By the time I'd cooled off, he was already done, cleaning his rifle and chatting with the range master. They both glanced at me a few times. What did he say? I asked Drew on the drive back. He wanted to know if I could keep you from shooting anything that wasn't paper. I let out a dry laugh. I told him I could. When we got home, Drew immediately locked my rifle in his gun safe. No hesitation. The rest of the weekend dragged on like wet cement. Drew did his best to keep me distracted. Workouts, errands, card games, anything to burn time. But the truth was, I was just counting down the hours until Monday. We spent Sunday watching old Marvel movies while Drew kept a close eye on my whiskey intake, making sure I stayed hydrated with soda and sports drinks between pours. He managed my texts with Tessa too, updating her like I was still up in the woods, hunting and doing just fine. That morning, he texted her saying I planned to spend the whole day sitting quietly in a tree stand. She's starting to call you an idiot for not coming home. Drew chuckled, reading her latest message. Wait until she gets served with the divorce papers. I replied, half smiling. Part of me liked the small victories, the mind games, the staged silence. But underneath it all, I was wrecked. I still loved her. I truly believed she loved me too. Maybe she'd snapped, had some kind of breakdown. Maybe I'd need therapy when all this was over. Because if this wasn't trauma, I don't know what is. After a fourth night of barely sleeping, I woke up Monday morning feeling hollow but determined. I was done. Tessa hadn't just cheated, she'd planned it. Lined it up. Enjoyed it. Drew sent her a message from my phone before we moved. Heading out early again, won't be back till late. Sorry again for scaring you Friday. All good now. We were parked in the grocery store lot near our house, familiar territory at this point. Tessa responded almost instantly. You let me suffer all weekend and still won't give up that stupid deer? Maybe go to Drew's place. I don't want to see you right now. I had to laugh at the irony. Her pushing me away was exactly what I'd been doing behind the scenes all weekend. 15 minutes later, we spotted her car heading down 3rd Street and turning right onto Tompkins, the usual route she took to work. Once she was out of sight, I parked in the alley behind the house. I wasn't being stealthy, but I still avoided the front. No sense alerting curious neighbors. I climbed the fence again and slipped in through the back. Retrieved the trail camera from the living room, grabbed my new phone from the bedroom, then walked into the second bedroom, the one that doubled as a pantry and closet but was supposed to be a nursery someday. That dream was shattered now. And yeah, that hurt more than anything. I pulled out a suitcase, packed it with more clothes, the gold coins I'd left earlier, and my laptop. Figured Tessa would hear from Jordan before she even realized I'd been back in the house. Back at Drew's, I dropped the SD card into the laptop, brushed my teeth, and collapsed onto the bed, still fully dressed. Just needed 10 minutes. An hour later Drew knocked, telling me the trail cam had finished recording. He was in the kitchen, microwaving breakfast sandwiches while coffee brewed. Ah, the bachelor life, he said with a grin. Go check out the rest of the footage. Might cheer you up. The laptop was waiting on the coffee table with a shot of whiskey beside it. Monday morning, and I was already leaning into the divorced guy lifestyle. Why not? I tossed back the whiskey and hit play. Turns out Drew was right. The footage from Friday night through Monday morning was equal parts pathetic and weirdly satisfying. After the soldier ran off, Tessa spent most of Saturday and Sunday pacing the house, phone glued to her hand. Talking. Texting. Probably trying to get through to me. She cleaned up a lot, picked things up around the house, even put back some of the pictures of me she'd taken down. Almost like she was trying to undo her little fantasy weekend. Drew sat beside me, sipping black coffee and eating sausage biscuits. Damn, I muttered. She really erased me. Go back, Drew said suddenly. To the end of Friday. Look at her hands. I rewound to the clip he mentioned. Tessa was pacing, texting rapidly with both thumbs. What? I asked. The rings, he said quietly. I zoomed in, and yeah, her wedding rings were off. We skipped ahead to late Saturday morning. Still gone. She's been playing the divorcee role since Friday, I said, feeling sick all over again. Later that day, I walked into Jordan Hale's office. She looked like she meant business. Tall, sharp suit, dark amber eyes that studied me like a file she'd already half read. 6 feet, 180, runner's build with some muscle, she said, raising an eyebrow. Guess I can believe your self-description. Thankfully, she said it like a statement, not a challenge. Have a seat, Eli. I bet it's been a hell of a weekend. It has, I replied, settling into the chair. Anything new from Maeve? She asked. I handed her my phone. This just came in while I was parking. She read the message aloud. Baby, please ignore my last message. Yes, I'm mad, but I need you home. I'm dying here without you. Please, Maddie. Jordan nodded slowly. Okay. It doesn't seem like she did this to push you away. If anything, she might have panicked now that she knows you're onto her. I still can't pretend it didn't happen, I said flatly. Of course not. But if she explains herself, swears it won't happen again, is there any chance you'd forgive her? I opened my mouth to snap back, but she raised her hand. I have to ask about reconciliation, Eli. Judges expect it. And from where I'm sitting, you still love her. I do, I admitted. But I don't see a way back. You saw the photos, but you didn't have to sit through the hours of her waiting for the next guy. She nodded. I understand. But as your lawyer, I have to explore whether the marriage can be saved, even if it's just for the court record. And no, don't worry. She can't force you into counseling. Not in this case. All right, I said, leaning forward. Tell me the plan. Let's work through the property and finances. If we go through with filing for infidelity, do I still have to give her half? Pay alimony? My income's almost double hers. We spent the whole morning going over every detail. By lunchtime, deli sandwiches on the conference table, Jordan had mapped out a strategy to protect what I'd earned and minimize the damage. Then came the moment. Ready to pull the trigger? She asked. I nodded. She put my phone on speaker and dialed Maeve. The call didn't even finish the first ring. Maddie. Where are you? Are you coming home? Are you okay? What the hell are you doing, idiot? Oh God, baby, I need you. Where? Mrs. Kara's? Jordan said firmly, raising her voice. Mrs. Kara's, please. What? Who is this? Maeve's voice burst through the speaker, panicked. Oh my God, where's Eli? What happened to Eli? Jordan raised her voice, clear and professional. Mrs. Mercer, please. Matthias is fine. He hasn't been hurt. He's safe. There was a pause, then Tessa snapped again. Then who are you? Why are you calling me from his phone? Jordan stayed calm. Mr. Mercer gave me his phone so you'd answer. We weren't sure you'd pick up for a strange number. I assure you, he's okay. The reports you got from Drew were part of a prank. I'm sorry if it scared you. Jordan shot me a playful glare and stuck out her tongue. A prank? Tessa barked. What's going on? Who are you and why are you calling me from Eli's number? Mrs. Mercer. Jordan replied, with crisp professionalism. I'm using Mr. Mercer's phone with his permission. And this call is being recorded. Do you object? Maeve's voice stumbled as her anger shifted to confusion. Why is it being recorded? Who the hell are you? My name is Jordan Hale, she said smoothly. I'm an attorney at Green Family Law in Springville. Your husband, Matthias Mercer, has hired me to represent him in the dissolution of your marriage. There was silence. Then Tessa echoed the word, stunned. Dissolution? Yes, Jordan said firmly. Mr. Mercer is requesting the process be kept private and resolved quickly. A sordid affair. Tessa whispered, probably repeating Kelly's phrasing in her own mind, stunned. Yes, Mrs. Mercer. Jordan continued. Typically, you'd be served with papers in person, but Mr. Mercer hopes to reach a fair settlement out of court. Please contact an attorney as soon as possible. An attorney? Tessa repeated like she didn't believe it. Do you have a pen and paper? Jordan asked. I'll give you my contact information. No. I don't. Tessa muttered. That's okay. I'll send you a message with my office details, Jordan said. After that, this phone will be deactivated, and you'll no longer be able to contact Mr. Mercer through it. But I need to talk to Eli. This isn't right. We love each other. Please, is he there? I need to talk to him. I'm sorry, Jordan said gently but firmly. Mr. Mercer is not ready to speak with you. Please have your lawyer reach out to me. Goodbye. Jordan ended the call just as Maeve's voice cracked on the other end. That went well, she said sarcastically, texting Tessa the contact info before shutting the phone down. Despite the sarcasm, I could hear the sadness in her tone. You okay? I asked, a bit surprised by the role reversal. I like protecting people from abusive marriages, she said, shaking her head slowly. But situations like this, they just make me tired. There's something off here, Eli. I think you're making the right call, but I'm not getting vindictiveness from your wife. She still blew everything up, I said. And now neither of us is happy. Jordan sighed. Maybe it's some kind of compulsion or dependency. Either way, she's nuked her own life, and yours. I looked down at the table, my voice low. Screw me, is it possible I've already lived the last happy day of my life? Jordan shook her head hard. No. It sucks right now, but this isn't the end. We'll set you up with a therapist. If you take it seriously, you'll bounce back quicker. A few hours later, over wings, shrimp, and Bloody Marys at a downtown sports bar, Drew backed that up. Yeah, it cost me, he said, licking hot sauce from his fingers. I thought therapy was just some soft BS. But I was a wreck, clogged toilet kind of mess. You could have talked to me, I said, trying to ignore his gross metaphor. You talked a little. You could have talked more. I know you were there, man. But seeing you and Tessa so happy, that just made it worse. That hit me. Harder than expected. At least, it did until I got help. Drew added. Then I could see you two as hope. Like maybe love wasn't a joke after all. He paused. And now it turns out I was wrong again. I didn't have words. Just raised my glass. Screw me, he muttered. Screw me, I echoed, and we clinked quietly, then drank deep. Tuesday afternoon, I found myself back in Kelly's office, this time in a smaller conference room with papers spread out across the table. I'd taken the day off. Monday had been about updating my work info, handling logistics, and searching for a new place to live, because I sure as hell wasn't sleeping in that house again. I ran 5 miles in the morning, and another 3 before the meeting. Just trying to stay upright. Numb but upright. When the receptionist led me to the conference room, I half expected Tessa to be waiting inside with her lawyer. Instead, Jordan was there alone, waving me in. Relax, just us today, she said with a faint smile. We need space to work. I sat down across from her, and she leaned in. Tessa wanted to come in person to explain everything. If this were a TV show, we'd be at the part where she bursts in for the dramatic showdown. Glad it's not a TV show, I muttered. Jordan laughed. Me too. She gave me a sly grin. And for the record, I'm glad I'm not like her. I caught her eyes and realized. I was glad too. You'd be surprised, Jordan said, reading my face. But I think it'd be better if you heard everything from Maeve. Stop trying to de-escalate. I snapped. What? She did it all for me now. Jordan hesitated. I think she got more than she bargained for. I stared at her, shocked. What the hell are you talking about? My voice started to rise. I stood halfway up, fists clenched on the table. She made me out to be some willing victim? I spat. Like I asked for this? Jordan reached across the table and grabbed my wrist. No, Eli. Oh God, no. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry, that came out wrong. I sat back down, breathing hard. Staring. She didn't say that. She's a mess. Genuinely heartbroken that you found out, and walked away. That's all. I nodded slowly. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that. But, yeah? Jordan looked down, then said softly, "The baby?" It hit me like a punch. We'd been trying for a baby for nearly a year. 11 months of tests, timing, vitamins, hope, and disappointment. She found someone like me. I said, stunned. Because I couldn't, because we hadn't, she wanted a baby so badly. Jordan met my eyes. She didn't want to lose you. She thought this might give her what you both wanted. I sat there crushed. So she slept with other men, hoping to get pregnant. Jordan nodded slowly. That's what she said? Yes, Jordan said softly, sliding a few pages toward me. I looked down, lab reports. Dated 3 months ago. Ordered by my gynecologist. It took me a second, but then I saw it. The tests were for patient 25,473. 2 semen samples. Both with low counts. Am I 22,193? I asked. Jordan nodded. I blinked. But how did she even get the samples? Jordan hesitated. For the first time, I saw her actually uncomfortable. She took them. Secretly. Without telling you. After 6 months of no pregnancy, she got nervous and snuck off with your used materials. Tissue samples. Boxers. Whatever she could collect. I stared at her. My chest felt tight. Instead of talking to you. Jordan continued. Maeve, well, she found guys who looked like you. Donors. But not through a clinic. She said your insurance wouldn't cover reproductive therapy. And that you'd already drained your savings buying the house. I leaned forward and dropped my forehead to the desk. The weight of it all pressed down like a collapsing roof. So, if her plan worked, I wouldn't have to pay child support, right? Jordan frowned. Not necessarily. You'd still need a test. You're low, but not zero. Why not just say I'm off the hook? I muttered, looking up. She panicked, Eli. Realized she was exposed, realized the divorce was real. So she went to her OB/GYN and asked for the morning after pill. But that was, wait. I sat up straighter. She was with that guy on Thursday night. That's not the morning after. Exactly. Jordan said. Dr. Linwood confirmed that. Tessa asked her to call you directly, by the way. So she went through all that, desperate to conceive, and then erased it all the second she thought I might not raise another man's child. That broke me all over again. Then it hit me, the timing. She did this just before my hunting trip. She was trying to get pregnant and planned to sleep with me Monday, so I'd think it was mine. Jordan nodded slowly. I shook my head. God knows what kind of diseases she could have picked up. She thought about that too. Jordan said gently, placing a hand over mine. She asked her doctor to run a panel when she went in. That's something. She hesitated, then added, Eli, after our last meeting. I rewatched some of the security footage. There's something you should know. What? Every time someone visited the house, male visitors, she looked at their phones. Yeah, I said. I saw that. Figured she was checking their directions or text invites. She was checking their STD and HIV test results. Jordan clarified. I blinked, stunned. They get tested? I asked, trying to process it. Yes. Regularly. And they bring their results with them. Jesus. I muttered. Later, over pizza and beer, I asked Drew. Do you get tested? Like that? Actually, yeah, he said, nodding. Always use protection. Always carry lab results. If I start dating again, I'll probably keep doing it. He paused. When you start dating again, he added, giving me a look. And yeah, I'd recommend it. I'm still shocked Tessa shared all that during negotiations. I said. She didn't have a lawyer yet. Drew explained. Jordan ran into her outside the office this morning and told her she needed one. Tessa was convinced that once you heard the full story, you'd call the divorce off. And how'd that work out? I asked. Drew raised his beer. Not great. She really believed her plan made so much sense. Jordan said later. She thought you'd come home that night. I didn't. I stayed at Drew's place, still deciding if I could even live in the same city as Maeve, let alone the same house. A week and a half later, we sat in the conference room at Green Family Law. Jordan and I were on one side of the table. Tessa and her new attorney, Mr. Bennett Crane, sat on the other. Mr. Mercer, Crane began, smoothing down his thinning hair. We have two issues. First, Mrs. Mercer wishes to remain married. Second, if reconciliation is off the table, the proposed agreement is insufficient. He adjusted his glasses. It suggests an even division of property, 50/50ths, but it omits certain marital assets. And the proposed spousal support is too low and too short-lived. Under the table, Jordan nudged my foot with hers. A not so subtle I told you so. I gave her a slight nod. She was right. Mr. Crane, Jordan said coolly, Mr. Mercer has agreed to cover 60% of your client's legal fees, a remarkable gesture from a man who has been humiliated. If we go to court, that generosity may not be so apparent. She leaned back, poised but firm. The judge will notice who's making the effort to resolve this quietly. I wasn't trying to screw Tessa over. I wanted this to end fairly. Not to give her half of everything, she didn't earn that, but enough so she wouldn't have to move in with her parents or live in some rundown apartment. She'd refused legal help at first, convinced the whole thing was temporary. I'd asked Jordan to find her decent representation. She deserved that much. And what about my client's quality of life? Jordan asked sharply. You've seen the evidence, Mr. Crane. Imagine what it's like to fall asleep every night with those images burned into your memory. She wasn't exaggerating. I couldn't unsee them. Therapy was hard. It helped, but not enough yet. Look, Crane said quietly, glancing toward Maeve, who sat with red-rimmed eyes. Our state doesn't typically factor emotional damage into the division of assets or alimony awards. Mr. Crane, Jordan snapped, cutting him off. If your client refuses this offer, we will not file it. Instead, she placed her hand on a thicker manila envelope. We'll file this. She slid it forward an inch. A full petition on the grounds of infidelity. Crane's hand twitched toward the folder, then stopped. This version, Jordan continued, is much less generous. And I assure you, we will subpoena every name, every man, every interaction. We'll also file for a court-ordered paternity test on any child your client may be carrying or attempt to claim. He hesitated. Swallowed. And I realized Jordan wasn't bluffing. We weren't here to humiliate Maeve. We were here to draw a line. And I had finally crossed it. Tessa let out a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Deep, hollow. Like someone gut-punched her soul. Okay, that's enough. Her attorney, Mr. Crane, snapped, suddenly indignant. There's no reason to be cruel, Mr. Witt. Jordan didn't flinch. She just waited. Mrs. Mercer only resorted to drastic measures because she and Mr. Mercer wanted a child. Crane continued, trying to find solid ground. She wanted their baby. It was mutual. My baby, our baby, I whispered under my breath. Jordan gently placed her hand on mine and tapped her foot against mine under the table, grounding me. But it would be ours, Tessa said desperately. Yours and mine. It would still be ours. The room fell into a stunned silence. Both lawyers agreed to a short recess. Jordan took me back to her office. Crane led Tessa outside. The tension hung thick in the air. When we returned, Crane doubled down. Mrs. Mercer took action only after her husband refused to consider medical alternatives to conception. She did what she thought she had to. And it could have still been his child. Jordan stayed calm, but I felt her tense beside me. Her tone softened as she turned to Maeve. We understand this wasn't an easy choice. And under different circumstances, it might have been forgivable. Mr. Mercer and I acknowledge how much pain you're in. Then she turned back to Crane. But unfortunately, we don't know whether your client's emergency intervention was successful. She may still be pregnant. Tessa looked ghostly, pale, glassy-eyed, close to fainting. Jordan continued. The agreement clearly states that any such child would not be presumed to belong to Mr. Mercer. He will take a paternity test. And if we end up in court, we'll demand testing from any potential biological fathers as well. There was more she wanted to say, something about whether Tessa would even keep the pregnancy, but I gave her the smallest shake of my head. Enough tension already. Tessa pressed her hand on Crane's arm. She was ready for whatever came next. All that aside, Crane said, we'd like to return to our original position, not divorce, but counseling. Reconciliation. A path towards starting a family together. I clenched my jaw. Why couldn't she have done this before? Why not just talk to me instead of dragging strangers into our bed? Mr. Mercer, Eli. Voices overlapped, trying to keep me calm, but I slammed my fist on the table. I stared at the wood grain, breathing hard. I'm already in counseling, I said through my teeth. My therapist says asking why is like looking down a funnel. You keep pouring in the questions, and it takes a long time for anything to drip out. But I can't heal until it does. I looked straight at Maeve. He wanted me to ask you to join a session. But now, I just want to know why you invited strangers into our bed instead of telling me the truth. Crane tried to speak, but Tessa interrupted. I didn't want to hurt you, she said softly. You're so proud of your body, your health. I didn't want to be the one to tell you that you couldn't give me a child. She was crying now. If we could have afforded IVF, I would have told you. But we couldn't. And we wanted a baby now. So it wasn't about excitement or boredom or cheating, it was about getting a donor. That's all. That's all? I repeated, shaking my head. Yes, she said. Why would I ever want to run away from you? I didn't enjoy it. Don't you see? Yes, I called them folders on my dating profile, but they were versions of you. My brow furrowed. Like in the multiverse movies you love, she said, her voice shaking. It was always you, younger you, older you. I just wanted to connect the fantasy with what we have. Add new memories to our shared ones. And when you pictured feeding that baby, I said coldly, the one someone else put inside you, you still imagined it was me, didn't you? She flinched. Yes. Always you. I looked over at Kelly. She raised her brows. Your move. I nodded. Jordan reached for the red-marked folder, the nuclear option. Without a word, she slid a series of photos across the table. Large, full-color 8x10s from the front and back cameras in the house. A still from the surveillance footage I'd taken that Friday night. And a few frames from my phone. Tessa stared, eyes wide. She turned green. Moments later, she bolted for the trash can and vomited. Our house on 3rd Street sold quickly. Despite owning it for less than 2 years, the value had gone up enough to pay off the mortgage and cover my relocation. I left Drew's place and moved into a quiet, work-friendly condo. Tessa went back to her hometown. Thankfully, she managed to avoid moving into her old bedroom and found a small apartment. She wasn't pregnant. She found work, decent enough, and rebuilt a manageable life. The child support I paid for 5 months didn't ruin me, and I was relieved when it ended. She wasn't destitute. That Elliard. But still, she'd brought this misfortune on both of us. And no Elliard how much therapy I did, the betrayal still haunted me. She was the love of my life. Her remorse was real. Her regret? Deep. She even wrote me one last letter. Said she still hoped for reconciliation someday. But I knew better. Therapy helped. The anger slowly drained out. I no longer saw myself as some loser, trapped in a lifetime of quiet misery. And as for Nina, she wound up a barista at Starbucks. She still blames Drew for everything. Police found no evidence. Witnesses and security footage confirmed he was at a Foo Fighters concert the night of her incident. In the meantime, I've nearly finished paying my spousal support. When that's done, I'll have fulfilled every legal and moral obligation tied to the marriage. Jordan Hale will no longer be my attorney. She found out I'd visited an art exhibit and actually enjoyed it. You know, she said with a smile, if that had been our first date, I'd have stayed for the whole thing.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.